All right, so today we're diving into the life of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. And his story? It's just this incredible paradox. His personal fight for just basic dignity didn't just change his life, it literally became the blueprint for a new nation's freedom. Just think about this for a second. On one hand, you have this absolute giant of a scholar. I mean, a mind so brilliant, he's getting multiple doctorates from the world's most prestigious universities. And then he goes on to write the Constitution for the world's largest democracy. But then, on the other hand, you have the outcast, a man born into a community considered so low, he was denied the most basic human dignity. So that right there, that was the central conflict that defined the life of Dr. Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar. And this is the story of how he didn't just overcome that conflict. No, he harnessed it. He used it as fuel to transform an entire nation. So to really get a handle on the revolutionary he became, we've got to go right back to the beginning, back to a world that honestly seemed designed to crush his spirit before he even had a chance. So he was born the 14th and last child to a Subedar in the British Army, and his early life was tough. I mean, his mother died when he was only 6 years old. But the deepest wounds, the ones that really shaped him, weren't from personal loss. They were inflicted by society. From his very first day in school, he was slammed with the brutal, relentless reality of being an untouchable. And this quote really says it all. It wasn't just some abstract social system for him. No, it was a daily, personal, and intense shock. This wasn't something he just read about or saw from a distance. He felt it deep in his bones. And that experience, well, it lit a fire inside him that would burn for the rest of his life. But here's the thing about adversity. Sometimes it forges weapons. And for Ambedkar, his greatest weapon was always going to be his mind. An incredible, unexpected opportunity was just around the corner, one that would let him arm himself intellectually for the huge fight that was waiting for him. Okay, so this moment in 1913, this was a game changer. It changed everything. A scholarship to study at Columbia University in New York, that wasn't just a ticket to get an education. It was a doorway to a completely different world, a world filled with ideas, with equality, with an intellectual freedom he had simply never experienced before. And what he did with that opportunity is just staggering. Look at the pace. An MA and then a Ph.D. from Columbia. Then he hops over to London for an M.Sc and a D.Sc from the London School of Economics. And just for good measure, while all that is happening, he qualifies as a barrister. This wasn't just a guy going to school. This was a relentless, all-consuming quest for knowledge spanning continents and disciplines. So now he's armed with some of the highest academic honors you can get anywhere in the world. He comes back to India, ready to make a difference, ready to fight. But he got a very rude awakening very quickly. A Ph.D. from Columbia, it turns out, is absolutely no shield against centuries of baked-in prejudice. And this is where the story gets painfully ironic. The very same Maharaja who paid for his education appoints him to this really high-ranking post. But even there, with all that authority, the day-to-day humiliation, the prejudice, it was so intense, he was literally forced to quit his job. What a harsh reminder, right? His real fight was only just getting started. Okay, so this is where the scholar inside him becomes a full-blown strategist. He realized academic arguments weren't enough. So, in 1924, he starts this organization with a really clear three-part plan. This wasn't just about shouting and protesting. No, this was about empowerment. Step 1, spread education. Step 2, improve economic conditions. Step 3, take those grievances and represent them formally to the people in charge. It was a practical, smart blueprint for real change. So for more than a decade, he tries to work within the system. But by 1935, you can tell his patience is just gone. He's at this conference in a small town called Yola, standing in front of thousands of his followers, and he's about to make a declaration that will send shockwaves through society. A statement designed to completely sever his ties with the very structure that had crushed his people for thousands of years. Just listen to this. Can you imagine the sheer weight of these words? This was so much more than a political statement. This was a deep, profound act of spiritual rebellion. It was a personal declaration of independence from a social order that he had come to believe was completely beyond repair. And this is what's so amazing. It sets up the next great paradox of his life. The man who had just essentially declared war on the existing social structure would soon be the one asked to write the rule book for a brand new, independent India. You can't make this stuff up.
So his journey just keeps taking these incredible turns. First, in 1946, he gets elected to the assembly that's going to decide India's future. A year after that, he's appointed the country's very first minister of law. And then comes the ultimate twist. This lifelong rebel, this dissenter, is handed the massive, monumental job of drafting the Constitution. And in that document, he personally gets to write in the guarantees of fundamental rights and the legal end to untouchability. He literally turned his personal pain into a founding principle for the nation.
And the world was watching. In 1952, it all came full circle. His old university, Columbia, gave him an honorary doctorate. But this time, it wasn't for his old academic papers. It was for this brand new, unbelievable achievement, creating a legal framework for equality and justice for hundreds of millions of people. Just incredible. And here's a detail that a lot of people don't actually know. His influence went way beyond law and social justice. Turns out, his doctoral thesis, a paper on the problem of the rupee, laid out the ideas that became the foundation for the Reserve Bank of India, the nation's central bank. So the architect of its laws was also, in a very real way, an architect of its modern economy. But even here, at the very peak of his power and influence, his personal journey wasn't over. His quest for what he saw as true liberation, that wasn't finished. There was still one final, deeply personal step he had to take. And you have to understand, being in a position of power never, ever meant compromising his principles. When he completely disagreed with the government on major social reforms, he didn't just go along with it, he didn't bend, he resigned. It was that simple. For him, his integrity was not for sale. And this brings us right back around. Remember that incredible promise he made back in 1935? I will not die a Hindu? Well, for 21 years, that declaration just hung in the air. Then, in October of 1956, he made good on his word. In this huge, historic ceremony, he and hundreds of thousands of his followers converted to Buddhism, a path he chose for its focus on equality and reason. And just under 2 months later, he passed away, a free man who had fulfilled his vow. So that leaves us with this incredible question, doesn't it? Dr. Ambedkar's life. It shows us that the fight for one person's dignity isn't just a personal struggle. It can be the very same thing as the fight for a nation's soul. For him, they were inseparable. It was his own personal battle against injustice that gave him the vision, the strength to build a system where hopefully no one else would ever have to go through what he did.